Okay, so welcome everyone to the first of the INAWARA online seminars for 2025. And we're really delighted that we are starting off with a seminar by um, Associate Professor Paul Wolffram, who is at the University of Victoria in New Zealand. He has a diverse background in English literature, music composition, ethnography, documentary film, um, and even commercial video production. He specializes in creative documentary practice and ethnographic film, and he's worked extensively throughout the Pacific region as a documentary producer, director, and cinematography. His work aims to embrace the potential of creative documentary to engage deeply and meaningfully with worldviews and narratives that are beyond a Western frame of reference. And I think that we'll be really seeing that in the work that he presents today. I'm very excited to hear more about, what he has been doing, and I'm very excited as well that, in fact, his film Murray Murray is going to be filmed at in Canberra next month. So we're all looking forward to that, to the way in which he can really bring these stories into audiences across the world to raise awareness about the issue of what we call sorcery accusation related violence in Papua New Guinea. So handing over to you now, Paul, if you speak for 40 minutes or so, and then we've got time for questions.
Great, thank you. Kia ora, everybody, as we say here in New Zealand. Very nice to be here. I hope to actually speak somewhere around 35 minutes, and we've got that time for questions. So I'll launch into it. This is based on a paper that I'm writing at the moment, and hope to get published within the next few months. Performing change, anti-sorcery violence video production with communities in Papua New Guinea. So this seminar, Performing Change, explores the development, the production, distribution, and the impact of a series of short videos produced in collaboration with community groups in Goroka, Eastern Highlands, Papua New Guinea. The videos were co-designed and co-created with communities to communicate an anti-sorcery violence message to young people, especially in Papua New Guinea. Here, I examine the learnings and achievements of the project, as well as an overview of the dissemination process used and the impact of the videos via social media platforms. The research suggests strong potential for short, co-designed and co-created video media to effectively communicate with target audiences, engage and contribute to SARV efforts in Papua New Guinea. So a little bit about the background to the situation. I'll try and keep this brief because I presume some knowledge that you all have, given that you're here today. So Papua New Guinea suffers from horrific levels of gender-based violence, with 2/3 of women in the country experiencing domestic violence, according to Human Rights Watch 2020. Sorcery accusation-related violence is a relatively new phenomenon in the independent nation of Papua New Guinea. And as the country prepares to celebrate its 50th independence anniversary this year, the number of accusations, violent attacks, tortures, and killings associated with SARV seem to be on the rise. Sorcery accusation-related violence is not exclusively gender-targeted and varies between different regions in Papua New Guinea. However, many of the attacks, especially in the highlands of Papua New Guinea, clearly have a gendered dimension. A range of factors contribute to the situation, including rising economic inequality in Papua New Guinea, lack of investment in basic infrastructure and public services, a rapidly growing youth population, pressures on land and intertribal conflicts. Government interventions and rule of law approaches to addressing gender and sorcery accusation related violence have been ineffective, really, in a nation where the state institutions really struggle to maintain order and have little reach beyond the urban centres. Right, SARV and PNG. So sorcery accusation-related violence in Papua New Guinea involves perpetrators accusing individuals or groups of practicing sorcery. The perpetrators violently attack the accused to remove the perceived threat from the community. Most accusations and violence are conducted within a community group and often within a clan or within the family group. Accusations often arise in communities following the sickness or death of a community member. And rather than seeking explanations for that misfortune, illness, or death through how explanations, many communities seek who caused the events to occur. Within the last decade, instances of SARV has spread across many of the highland provinces and increasingly into the coastal regions and major cities, including Lae, Madang, and the country's capital, Port Moresby. The project detailed in this talk has its origins in a personal encounter during my first visit to the Eastern Highlands town of Goroka in 2017. In conversation with 3 young men in one afternoon in the Goroka market, the topic of sorcery was raised, and one of the young men described how he had recently been involved in the torture and killing of a woman in his home village. I was astounded by the sort of casual way in which he recounted the events. He and the other men had no concern about being held accountable for their actions by law enforcement. They showed me images and videos of the attack recorded on their cell phones and shared on WhatsApp. One of the young men pointed himself out, brandishing a machete in the video clip with an air of pride. The young man's narrative of the terrible events was also clearly in his mind the actions of any reasonable person concerned for the safety of his community. The conversation, as you'd imagine, left me profoundly unsettled. They had participated in brutal murder of someone in their community and were boasting of their actions to a casual acquaintance. I've been working in Papua New Guinea for many years, and I've never come across this. I've been working in the outer islands previously. In the following days and weeks, I began to actively inquire about sorcery beliefs and sorcery accusation in the Eastern Highlands province, and I was astounded by the ubiquity of the accounts I was able to collect in just a few days. The extreme levels of violence involved and the apparent complete absence of police intervention or local or legal accountability. Over the next 6 years, I conducted many interviews with perpetrators and with survivors, and many of whom expressed similar attitudes. The perpetrators expressed similar attitudes to those 3 young men regarding the actions that they had participated in. And this is where I pick up on the work of Miranda and Philip here. So launching of a paper, what was that, 2021, Miranda? Yeah, worldviews and causal stories. So magical outlooks are woven within the traditional spiritual concepts in Papua New Guinea. Western concepts are also woven into those worldviews, as well as Christian perspectives. In many different Melanesian communities, these different perspectives coexist without apparent conflict. Forsyth and Gibbs described this as worldview pluralism, referring to how people construct their understanding of the world through a range of different frames. In the face of apparently unexplained occurrences, such as illness or death, certain worldviews may take precedence in an individual's thinking. Which worldview dominates depends on a range of factors, such as the location of the events, the previous experiences of the participants, emotional experiences, and the opinion and moral positions of the others involved. Forsyth and Gibbs draw on the work of political scientist Deborah Stone, who developed the concept of causal stories to explain how individuals use narratives to control interpretations of events to promote their own agendas. For example, within the worldview pluralism context of PNG, several causal stories may be proffered for sickness of an individual. One explanation may involve a biomedical framework in which, for example, diabetes is offered as an explanation for illness. Another explanation for illness or death may be that God gives and takes away life. And a third and increasingly common explanation attributes blame to an individual or a group of malicious sorcerers. The consequent action is often to identify the sorcerer or sorcerers involved, and at times resulting in accusation and violence. The implications of the worldview pluralism, and really briefly, in causal stories, suggest possible approaches to addressing SARV. In summary, the suggested approaches for addressing SARV include, firstly, emphasizing a doubt-based strategy by inserting cognitive complexity into and to question the magical causal explanation rather than attempting to push back against belief in magic. Secondly, utilizing multiple frameworks of understanding, including cultural, biomedical, scientific, and religious explanations that help to insert doubt into the magical causal explanation. And thirdly, working with survivors to cultivate an empathetic approach that emphasizes the humanity of those accused. Now I'm moving to the case for social media intervention. Media in Papua New Guinea lags significantly behind international trends. Printed newspapers remain a dominant source of news and information for people in towns and in the regions. Among the growing youth population, is adopting smartphones and network-connected devices has grown rapidly in the last decade. In this context, social media videos provide an opportunity for communicating the approaches presented here by Forsyth and Gibbs. Short narrative videos that offer alternative causal stories to the magical explanations often profit in instances of sorcery violence present a potential platform for inserting doubt, multiple frameworks, and empathetic narratives. Communication and internet data services have become increasingly accessible and results in unprecedented access to the worldwide network of information, the net. As highlighted by Barak et al. In their US Institute of Peace publication, The Relationship Between Social Media and Violence in Papua New Guinea, 2024, these platforms have had a huge impact on PNG communities. And I quote from Barak, gruesome images and videos showing dead and dismembered bodies on social media is commonplace in Papua New Guinea. The use of Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp to disseminate videos suggests that perpetrators are consciously using social media to incite violent responses in instances of sorcery accusation. The proliferation of such material on social media in Papua New Guinea is particularly concerning given the low levels of media competency within the community. And I'll come back to that later because it was certainly shown in my project. While each year more individuals come online, they really lack that media literacy to understand and interpret the video content they are viewing. And this brings us to the Mari project. So in 2018, I returned to the Highlands to begin what was to become the Mari project. From 2018 through to 2024, the Mari project has resulted in several distinct media outputs. The project aimed to produce a range of media to raise awareness of the issues associated with SARV among Western audience, as well as specifically targeted media for audiences in Papua New Guinea. The productions directed towards a Western audience were designed to raise awareness of the existence and the issues associated with SARV. The media productions in the Mari project so far include those aimed at Western audiences, a short documentary called Wildfire, a photography and B-loom traditional string bag gallery exhibition called Sun Up One Time, Stand Together Against Sorcery Violence, and a feature documentary that was released last year in August, Mari. The media produced for audiences in Papua New Guinea include 2 series of videos, a series of 4 empathy videos, and a series of 6 Stop Easy One Time videos. Yeah, so the description and analysis that follows below mainly focuses on the Stop Easy One Time series of 6 videos. Stop Easy One Time, look after one another, I guess is the translation. This branch of the Mari project, along with the empathy videos, series of 4 videos, are designed specifically for Papua New Guinea audiences. Before discussing the Stop Easy One Time series in detail, it is worthwhile describing the empathy series, as the 2 series contrast significantly in the levels of engagement we've managed to achieve. So the empathy videos, the series of videos, was edited from the rushes shot in the process of filming the feature documentary Mari. The footage was shot in 3 production periods from 2018 through to 2023, totaling 5.5 months of production. Working with these vulnerable individuals requires repeated consultation and care. The draft empathy videos were screened to the individuals involved for their approval, and the series, and we ran a series of feedback screenings, which were held in early 2024. Workshop screenings and feedback sessions with human rights defenders also took place in Mount Hagen, Port Moresby, and in Goroka before their release. 2 of the empathy videos, just as examples, Survivor Story 1 and Survivor Story 2, provide simple narratives in which a member of an accused family who claims to have no knowledge of sorcery provides details of their attack to which they were subjected. And the video ends with the precarious situation the family now finds themselves in. The injustice of the family situation is succinctly presented, along with a description of the extreme violence to which they've been subjected. The empathy series received positive feedback from participants in workshops and among human rights defenders. The videos were subsequently shared on social media, and in contrast to the Stop Easy One Time series, the empathy series has not been viewed widely on social media in Papua New Guinea, with only around 7,000 views. The empathy series may be effective as a tool for discussing anti-sorcery violence in workshops and may hold value in similar arenas, but they do not appear to have effectively engaged with an online or social media viewers in Papua New Guinea. Then the question of how to effectively identify, reach, and communicate with the right groups within the community was subsequently the focus of the Stop Easy One Time series. While it is ideal for an anti-violence video series to reach and engage with as wide a demographic as possible within the geographical and culturally targeted area, media that seeks to engage with all sectors of society often ends up serving none particularly well. It is therefore essential that the media, for the media to target a demographic and focus on that demographic. Once the demographic is identified, the content needs to be available on the social media networks or platforms most utilized by the target demographic. And finally, and possibly among the most difficult tasks, is to understand what content is going to engage the target audience to view, share, and affect the audience. So targeting the audience and what is their behavior? Young men have been identified as the key perpetrators of physical violence relating to SARV. Research shows that in PNG, men constitute, I'm quoting here from, I think, Melissa Demon, men constitute most of the combatants during conflict and perpetrate most of the violence in times of peace. Additionally, an estimated 60% of Papua New Guinea's population is under 25. These young people are reportedly exposed to the highest rates of violence in East Asia and the Pacific region, according to the UN Population Fund report. The Stop Easy One Time community video series aims to produce media specifically targeted at young men in Papua New Guinea between the ages of 18 and 35. Fortunately, this demographic is also among the most likely to own and regularly use a cell phone. Recent developments in the cellular network in Papua New Guinea have massively improved the ability for mobile users to access and stream video content. Most internet users in Papua New Guinea are accessing the internet on their mobile phone. Internet connection speeds in PNG in 2024 are reportedly at a medium of 18.95 megabytes per second for cellular users. That probably means little to many people, but this has increased a remarkable 12.2 megabytes, or 181% from the average 12 months earlier. So this means that video streaming is now viable and that most people with cellular phone network connections in the Highlands can regularly view platforms like YouTube. In practice, some of us will know that there are periods when the power goes down and the cell networks go down for long periods as well. So that that massive leap in speed of the internet has certainly had results with more people being online and watching videos. There is an estimated 281 million internet users in Papua New Guinea, around 27% of the total population. Among these internet users, 1.1 million are active on social media, with 62.2% of those users being male. According to GSMA intelligence numbers, almost all of those on social media in Papua New Guinea use Facebook as their primary or only social media platform. It is, however, worth noting that available statistics on social media usage in PNG do not cover TikTok, as it seems to be impossible to garner statistical information on TikTok results. They don't share those results in the same way that Facebook and other Western-based social media platforms seem to do. As reported in other geographic regions around the world, younger people or younger internet users are increasingly moving away from Facebook and towards things like TikTok. So engaging that target audience, designing and developing media content for this target audience is possibly the most complex task. The video media consuming habits and practices of young people in the Highlands of Papua New Guinea are in many ways still burgeoning. In the context of these challenges, several suggestive elements have helped to define our approach to engaging this target audience. With most of those accessing the internet via cell phones, as I mentioned, the media produced should be optimized for those users. Videos designed for mobile device viewing have several defining features. These include being short in duration, action-driven content, a particular shooting style, and they need to be entertaining. Breaking down these constituent parts, video content produced for the identified target audience will be most effective if the content is short. How short is short? Well, reels, if you're familiar with those, are things like cats falling off a couch and they get 1 million views. However, I'm trying to tell stories, and a story has certain requirements that include protagonists with wants and needs. A series of events has to occur in a story, and those events or actions that see the protagonists attempt to achieve their desires. And as a consequence of the changes in the protagonist, as a consequence of those actions, we should see changes in the protagonist. This is what constitutes the requirements of a story. To establish characters, set up their wants and needs, show the character working to achieve those wants and needs, and then show them how their journey of pursuing those wants and needs changes their position or understanding related to their desires takes a bit of time. Doing this within a 2-minute kind of confine is difficult, but achievable. Secondly, stories that depict action, that is, protagonists doing things in the world to achieve their wants and needs, are much more likely to engage than stories that establish narratives through dialogue. Effective short content should be depicted through what the characters do rather than what the characters say. Another aspect is dynamic framing, involving moving camera shots, close-ups, multiple angles, and center framing for a 1:1, sort of a square aspect ratio, which allows for vertical viewing on cellular phones. Additionally, entertainment, or the ability for the content to amuse, shock, challenge, or emotionally engage the viewer, is critical for engaging the audience in the short narratives. These desirable features of online videos were all established before beginning the collaborative production process with the Highland community groups that I worked with. So with the support of the University of Goroka and the Catholic leadership at Kefamo Mission Station, I engaged with 3 groups of young people in May 2024. 2 groups of students from the Creative Arts and Communication program at the University of Goroka, and a group made up of members of the Kefamo Catholic Youth Group. With a limited time frame of 3 weeks, I taught 2 3-hour sessions a week with each of the groups, and each of the groups had about 15 students in them. We began by working on story development, focusing on how to ideate, develop, and structure short stories that could be conveyed within the 2-minute time frame. All of the students had and drew upon their personal experiences with SAV in their home communities. The students were asked to present their stories orally to the group, and we workshopped them as a class to shape them into 3-act structure, defining a protagonist and their wants and needs, and bringing the story to a satisfactory conclusion. We also discussed the ways in which we might attract and satisfy our audience with the stories we were producing. We decided that given the difficult nature of the subject and the social media and the social media platforms that we were creating the content for, we would aim to entertain using humor. Based on the selected stories delivered orally in class, I scripted two of the stories from each of the groups. In the 3rd and 4th sessions, each group workshopped and rehearsed the scripts to further develop the humor, the characters, and the pacing. And once satisfied with our stories and familiar with the scripts, we moved to the production phase. We shot each of the films in half a day and completed the 6 shoots in 3 days. The students continued to develop their performance roles and performance delivery on location, resulting for the most part in strong performances. The students did really well in that aspect and really came to enjoy exploring their characters. I took for granted that the students knew something about the production processes involved in making videos. I learned on location that they were unfamiliar with the concept of multiple takes, retakes, and shooting the same action from different perspectives to gain what we call coverage. Once I understood that they didn't have this sort of production literacy, we took some time on location to talk through the importance of having options for editing process through repeated takes and coverage and retakes. The editing and post-production stages for all six films were completed really rapidly. I think edited them together 1 day for each video to bring them to completion. The short films that resulted, well, 5 of the 6 short films follow a very similar structure. An accusation arises within a community group. An individual is identified as a possible sorcerer, and in the events that follow, the accusers come to understand that they are basing their accusation on a misinterpretation of events or circumstances. In the 6th film, the one that's slightly different, Glassman or Gyalman, diviner or deceiver, tackles the issue of diviners who claim to be able to identify sorcerers magically. So the video, an example that I'll play for you now is called Smell Sanguma, or maybe The Fragrant Sorcerer. And hopefully through this, you'll be able to get a sense of the sort of the tone we were trying to achieve.
Ganti time, imi sa sutin tok sang kuma karya.
Namun tasul naman dahil na. Last weekend o dahil na. Now this la weekend o ki. Karim samta dahil mo njet laos dahil. Ikaw ko luki tuo.
Strete, ati non plasango mo mas kele plus tape.
We mi to kita luki ma.
Shaite.
Lusimi, oi. Check in.
Just plasango mo eh.
Luka masan. Check in blood. Check in blood. Luka masan ni sense di oi. Stop it.
Oh, this has been there.
Kaware misa keke no make mouse to me smell.
No, smell sango mo eh.
Luka man ni fuse da pa.
No.
Live bro. Mi sa isu lo puti lo skin no me smell nice.
Ay, now mas ko smell sango mo now eh.
No, flower mo me kunem. Flower ya. Oh, go fuse flower. Ué, me carregam no kilo sista bibla. Ah. No kilo sista bibla.
Hey, you plan to see boyfriend no me?
What boyfriend?
Yeah, Jawan and secret boyfriend no me. You plan have suppose Papa find out, then by trauma mem go INAWARA.
Holy mania. Holy me stop. Holy me. Holy this money stop. Holy. You brought up holy players.
Nuat. Papa, no, am na sanguma.
Me not talk sanguma. Over the time, manesa kam laos. Mitro me trava school fee sa pigni meria. You holy passing stop. Mami kana mi apin sa liglig raten pa mitro mo korano wara.
Mi pla confused.
Also okay, you go find him.
Oh, Joan. Laugh blomi. Na ilusi mi penis na you go.
Ken sutin talk sanguma no narka.
Okay, so in this short film, Smell Sanguma, The Fragrant Sorcerer, it works well as a short skit comedy in which the tone changes rapidly from accusation and suspicion through to confusion, revelation, and finally a comedic punchline. The three brothers are shown as changing their position and perspective through the journey of the story. They move from suspicion of sorcery activity to accusation rapidly. From accusation and confrontation, they gain a new understanding of the events once it is revealed that the young man is in fact their sister's boyfriend. In a reversal of their initial position, they end up defending the young man against their father, who they think wants to accuse him of being a sorcerer. In fact, the father is just concerned that he's wasting his school fees when the young man's going to run away with his daughter. Each of the films delivers a similar narrative journey in which young men are shown to change their positions and come to see that their accusations have been based on a misinterpretation of events or circumstances. In these ways, all the short narratives based on real instances of sorcery accusation that came from the students' experiences model accusers changing their position. In each story, the accusers are shown to save face by moving to defend the accused or shifting their role in the events. In doing so, the characters on screen are described as learning and growing, changing their position without shame or repercussions. At the end of the short stories, they come to see that their initial accusation was based on erroneous assumptions. This next video, I'm going to show you a similar story. This will give you another idea. This one in particular, and for some reason that the algorithm of YouTube throws up, has had over 200,000 views alone on YouTube.
Let's go now.
Plenty time. Sila talk sanguma yan sa kama. Cheles pasintas.
Mr. Nilonga.
When the garden with Lamerian look nice na garden no mikla yes. Kaya kano sa grow good. Putihan ka no. Mitonem no kan bailem. Ya making na you kapsem sanguma meri. Kira mitela. Ba mitla ko lukimem. Come here. You making a man lumi MC ke lukem. Lukime.
Tapos MC kasi may wala usi.
No at you buy lumita na I'm starting caps. Bami ko to ko at alay no sem. You sanguma meri. Brother John, come here pastor. Maria make him na. Tamuman dia look him. MC ke.
Isang mo meri, yung marami tao man dumiya.
Warasta, gimem.
Kira. Kari mo ko poison ora blim. Just to man do me die.
Oy, wala sa kama. Musunim. Emer sila sanguma meri ya marami tao man dumiya. Yung karibem ko wara sa. Sanguma meri. Para baik ko wara ko nang taluki.
Yeah, no what me help me.
May drink wara na ikaps kamera na wasis.
Ikaps pinis ha? Lina, na why you gaman pa rin nating name to Maria o sa mga bangarabi? Lina, yung pa gaman ni na look, may play mem natin.
Karim, next time nila kay kasi kay sisilaw. Kaya na sila nakaka-drink yan. Dami ko pa kano ka din.
Lugo ma, Lina, I'm time something na yan. Kapag na, musa pinis na ba pa yun?
Ken sutin talk sanguma no narka. Sanguma no to.
Right. Yeah, once the post-production was completed, I met with each of the groups for a final session where we viewed the films, held a debrief to discuss what we'd learned in the process, and the participants' reflections were of particular interest. Several of the students reflected on their perceptions of sorcery accusation-related violence. They reported that their position or belief associated with sorcery had shifted. One student commented that it was clear to them now, and I quote, that most sorcery accusations were probably the result of misunderstandings. It was evident that the devising, story development, and production process allowed some of the participants to reflect on their own beliefs and assumptions. Other students commented on their learnings associated with the production process. One student said, I can see now that the stories that we're watching on TikTok and YouTube are made in the same way. We discussed this point further as it was raised in different ways in all three groups. They expressed surprise at the highly constructed ways in which media is devised and were able to appreciate that the video content that they were consuming on their devices is made through a similar process to the ones that we followed. These comments highlighted for me the low levels of media literacy within the groups. They had not previously understood that the process through which the videos they were consuming online were developed, scripted, shot, and edited. These comments reflect the concerns expressed by Barak et al. In their discussion paper, The Relationship Between Social Media and Violence in Papua New Guinea. The increasing access of this generation of young people in PNG to the internet and the video streaming services does indeed raise concerns about their ability to interpret the value of the media sources they're viewing. They currently possess very limited understandings and lack critical engagement with the media that might help to inform them about the media's agenda, its processes, or the messages inherent in online media. So moving now to talk a little bit about the distribution of these films. During the final session with the groups, I issued each participant with credit for their preferred cellular network. This was a wise move. We discussed how we might all contribute to the promotion and distribution of the films we had just made. Digital copies of the films were made available to each participant, and they were encouraged to load the content onto their Facebook pages and social media platforms. During the session, several of the students mentioned uploading to TikTok, and they're encouraged to upload to all social media networks that they regularly use. The first round of video distribution was made available in Square one by one for ease of viewing on scrolling platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook Reels. The first release of the videos was also only available in Tokpisin, the local lingua franca, without English subtitles. Not adding subtitles was a deliberate approach to help ensure that the audience we were engaging was primarily people from within PNG. Within 24 hours of our final session, one of the students in the course contacted me to let me know that one of the 4 Stop Easy One-Time videos he had loaded onto TikTok under his username Junior Matthias had already received 15,000 views. Over the next few days, all the videos' views grew rapidly and continued to climb. In the 10 months that have passed since the upload, and at the time of writing this, the 4 videos made with the UOG students, the University of Goroka students, received more than 565,000 views on this one profile. Other students in the course also loaded their videos onto Facebook and TikTok accounts. I've not been able to attain accurate estimates of how many views their uploads have received. However, it's clear from the single profile that the videos had a broad reach among young people in Papua New Guinea. In October 2024, the 6 videos were loaded to YouTube on my channel with English subtitles. In the 5 months since being uploaded to this channel, the videos have received, in that Stop Easy One-Time series, have received more than 400,000 views. YouTube provides detailed analysis of viewer numbers and analytics. The great majority of those views are from within PNG. Somewhere between 83% and 95% of the total viewership is within PNG. The statistics also show that 77.2% of those viewers are male. The age of the viewers is predominantly between 18 and 34, equating to 65.8% of the total audience. So The analytics reveal that the videos are reaching the intended audience with impressive numbers. Across the 2 social media platforms, the only 2 that I've been monitoring, TikTok and the Junior Matthias profile, and YouTube, the videos are approaching 1 million views in the 10 months since being posted. These viewers are significantly weighted towards young male PNG viewers between the ages of 18 and 34. The total number of views represents more than 1/3, that's 35% of the total 2.81 million internet users in Papua New Guinea. As detailed here, these numbers only capture the result of 2 social media platforms, my own and the one of the student participant. The actual number the actual reach of the videos in the Stop Easy One Time series is likely to be greater than the numbers captured here. These impressive results that the series have achieved can be in part attributed to the 500,000 views on TikTok. And the statistics on social media use in PNG, as I mentioned, do not capture TikTok users. The social media habits of those who access the internet in PNG are not really being accurately captured by the statistics available online. So talking about the impact of the series, and while these videos have been remarkable in their sort of reach, ascertaining the impact and effectiveness is a much more difficult thing to garner. Reducing sorcery violence in the affected communities in Papua New Guinea is not something that is going to be achieved through the production of social media videos alone. As many scholars and journalists, human rights defenders, NGOs and commentators have argued, reducing instances of SARV require a coordinated, joined-up approach. The impact of these 6 videos is not something that can be accurately measured through statistical analysis. It is, however, possible to gain some insights into the reception of these videos based on the likes, comments, and shares of these videos on TikTok and YouTube platforms. The videos have been shared more than 2,000 times. The hundreds of comments made on both platforms can be categorized, and I did a deep dive into all of the comments and categorized them into 4 different themes. These are, the first theme is supportive, just comments that include positive comments about the story, the acting, the camera work, themes explored, laughing emojis, those sorts of things. Anything that represents supportive falls into category 1. The second category of comments is one that I've termed sorcery is real, statements about how sorcery is real in the community and how it leads to sickness and death within PNG. The third category is sorcery is not real, comments that directly support the messages of the videos and how sorcery beliefs are affecting the community and the injustice of accusations. And the fourth category of comments is make more, comments requesting that the teams create more content and produce longer format films. The table below, or the one I'm about to show you, shows these numbers and comments across the TikTok and YouTube with the ones that align to each one. So you see here 330 supportive comments, sorcery is real, 22 comments in that vein, sorcery is not real, 53, make more, 56 comments. So the number of supportive and positive comments about the videos is encouraging. These support the tens of thousands of likes received by the 6 videos. The number of sorcery is real comments, 22, is likely to underrepresent the number of viewers who hold this belief framework. It is reasonable to assume that those who vehemently disagree with the messages of the videos would be, only those who vehemently disagree would be activated enough to write these comments. The number of sorcery is not real comments is interesting in that it's more than twice the number of those in the previous category. For these viewers, the messaging of the videos is coming through clearly, and they have been moved to make comments that support the video's content and messaging. The final category of comments, make more, further reflects the success and engagement that the videos have achieved. The audience for these videos is underserved with representations of Papua New Guineans on screen, engaged with issues that concern them directly. While the comments, likes, and number of shares only provide us with a suggestion of the potential impact of the videos, there are some positive signs here. The number of likes and supportive comments indicate that the audience is relating to and responding with positive emotional reactions. They are moved to hit the like button, drop an emoji into the comment section, or share the video on their social media network. This section of the audience, by far the majority, can be seen to be taking small positive actions towards preventing sorcery, accusation, and related violence. While these actions may seem minuscule, the viewers are taking part in changing the broader attitudes towards SARV in Papua New Guinea. Reviewing these outcomes, it's clear from the results that some good choices were made here regarding the design and delivery of the Stop Easy One-Time series. The short duration of the films has helped to make them accessible and conform to viewer expectations on TikTok and YouTube. The use of humor as a device to engage audiences contributed to the success among the target audience, and the engagement through likes and comments supports the comedic approach while delivering the social message of the videos. This is especially highlighted when compared to the results of the empathy series that I mentioned earlier. The empathy videos have not managed to reach an audience through social media anywhere close to the numbers achieved by the Stop Easy One-Time series. The two series utilize very different approaches. While the empathy series sought to provide short documentary-style accounts of real-life experiences, the Stop Easy One-Time series has created fictional narratives based on real events that were designed to entertain, while also presenting alternative causal stories and moral messaging. These results indicate the importance of tailoring media to a specific demographic, including strategies like comedic storytelling to enhance viewer engagement. The co-design and co-creation methodology employed in the Stop Easy One-Time series has helped to lift this engagement, as evidenced by the comments, the multiple 56 requests for more content like this in the comment section of the video. These all support the assumption that the target audience appreciates seeing Melanesians on screen in familiar environments dealing with issues that concern them. Shifting the social and cultural attitudes and reducing sorcery accusation-related violence in Papua New Guinea is an immense task that will require long-term and coordinated planning. The Stop Easy One-Time series shows that when co-designed, co-created, and carefully targeted to a defined audience, social media videos have significant potential to reach and contribute towards performing change in Papua New Guinea. Thanks.
Wow, thank you so much, Paul. That was yeah, that was amazing. I think we've definitely got some time for questions. I can I take the liberty of starting off and asking one question, and then we'll go to Phil. I was interested in the changes that you talked about in the students reflecting after they've gone through that process. And they said, you know, that they think that not all of the accusations are real. And so that sounded to me a lot like when I've spoken with people who have gone through training programs. They're not so much saying, no, sorcery isn't real, but they're saying we realize that in most of the time, it's actually been a false accusation. Am I picking up what you're saying there, or are they actually turning around and saying, well, we've realized now that sorcery as a belief is not real?
I think the former, that, yeah, when I started with the students, I said, this is the project we're going to be doing. My position is that I don't believe in sorcery, and I laid that out for them, and I expect that many of you in this room do. And that's fine. You know, universities, as we were in, are places to, you know, express different ideas and talk to each other about them. And so they all nodded along with that. And then I asked the room, well, you know, what are your positions on this? 3 people in the room said, you know, clearly I don't believe, but everybody else expressed all uncertainty, which I know is people really saying, well, I assumed that all of those uncertainties were, they actually believed in sorcery, but they weren't going to oppose a white man in the room, a senior male to them. It wouldn't be a Melanesian thing to do to put themselves in opposition to me. So yeah, at the end of the the course or of the production of the videos, those that expressed, and quite a few of them did express their changed position. Their changed position is probably, as you suggest, that not all accusations, that most seem to be motivated in ways that they could see was, clearer to them now.
Mhm.
That was a really positive sign. But, there you're only affecting 45 individuals. We're hoping that the videos themselves would have a greater impact.
Thank you. Phil, you had a question?
Yeah, I'm reconsidering. It's too complicated. I'm going to log off anyway. I have another appointment and I'm going to send an email to Paul separately. My question goes back to the early studies, early anthropological studies in the first part of the last century, when sorcery was considered to be had a social judiciary function, and well, okay, I'll ask one. Do you have any history of at roughly what point and what was going on when sorcery accusations might generated violence? Is that a legitimate question? Maybe it isn't.
Well, it is, and there's a number of people here that could attempt to answer that. Of course, you're right that traditionally sorcerers were seen as a community asset, also people to be feared. These are still my experience in the communities in the outer islands, where sorcerers are often approached for creative input. They help to produce music and dance. And at some point, when this term sanguma arrives in Papua New Guinea, it changes its nature, and all of a sudden there is this idea that you can get rid of the sorcerer and stop the deaths in your communities or on misfortune, illness, if you kill that person. I mean, I think early instances of sort of sorcery killing, they must have occurred turn of the century occasionally, but this sort of more rapid, or this idea of this spread of this idea that you can remove the sorcerer from your community by killing them, in some cases goes back 30 to 40 years. Philip and Miranda would be able to talk to this more clearly, but this is really spread in places like Inga. You're only seeing these things arrive in 2015, relatively very recently.
So where did that term sanguma come from?
It's another difficult one to answer, isn't it, Philip? Some people claim that that term is an African term brought in through missionaries. Some people claim that I've come across the word ranguma, which means stranger, in a linguistic group just north of the Shimbu district, and stranger, ranguma, sanguma.
So it has nothing to do with healing, or like the sangoma of Southern Africa and the Bantu dialects. It has nothing to do with healing or native doctoring, right?
Perhaps. Maybe somebody else has a better answer than I do.
Okay, thank you. Never mind.
Yeah, I mean, that is a question. Why are there two such similar words, sangoma in the African context and sanguma in PNG? What is there a semantic bridge between them? People have explored that. I don't know that there's a really clear answer to it, but certainly it's used often to refer to the sort of the idea that there's a woman and that she eats people, she eats people's hearts. That's the classic narrative around a sanguma in the Highlands of PNG. Anyway,
Do you what language does it derive from? Do you know?
well, this is the question. We're not sure.
Okay.
Other questions?
So thank you very much. I'm going to exit and say goodbye to you all.
Thanks, Phil.
I have a question. Paul, I find it absolutely fascinating. I was familiar with your that first series of films, but I'm not familiar with the Stop Easy One Time you've been talking about this morning.
Hmm.
What are your plans for further development of this? When are you coming, and when are you going to do more of this?
Oh, well, I hope to be in your neighborhood in the next month. As Miranda mentioned, I'm flying to Canberra to do a screening of the Māori Māori film, the feature film, in the next couple of weeks, 3 weeks, I think. And then from there, I'll fly up to Port Moresby, do some screenings at the University of Papua New Guinea of Māori Māori. And the New Zealand ambassador in Port Moresby wants to do a screening of that film too. And then I think there's also a collection of Lutheran ministers that are doing a screening in Port Moresby of Māori Māori. I'll then go up to Goroka. I'm going to spend 6 weeks this time working with the students. I haven't quite defined yet what the approach will be. I don't know if I can keep on telling those same stories. I'm thinking about working with the students to tell stories of peaceful masculinities. Not quite sure how that will play out. I think I'll take my lead from the students in the groups that I'm working with for 6 weeks. During those 6 weeks, I hope to get down to Madang, Philip, and maybe we can arrange a screening of Māori Māori at the Divine Word University, if that's possible during that period.
I certainly hope so. Sometime during May would be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I will email you to try and arrange a time that suits you and the students down there. The difference this year is that, previously in the Stop Easy One Time series, I did the scripting, I did the cinematography, the recording, and did the editing. With 6 weeks, I think I'll be able to train the students in some of those processes. With that limited time last time, I just decided that we'd focus on storytelling and the performance aspect. This time, I think I'll be able to train them in some of those processes to give them better understandings of media production processes, train them in editing and those sorts of things, as well as camera work, which will probably reduce the production value, but the learning outcomes for the students will be much better. I think I will also give them a confined box of these are the types of stories we're going to tell. These are the sort of focus we're going to do. I think that they will be really keen, having many of this with 1 million, almost 1 million, views in Papua New Guinea. Most of the youth online would have seen these videos and hopefully be really keen to get, to participate in this next round of video production.
Wonderful. That's great to hear. I really, I'm happy to hear that, and I look forward to welcoming you in Madang.
Thanks, Philip.
I've got one other question in terms of measuring the impact again.
Yes.
And I'm wondering, are you planning to do any, like, I don't know, focus groups with people who have watched the video? Like, could you do a screening of 1 or 2 of those reels and then ask, I don't know, other students, not the students who have produced them, but the other students at University of Goroka, do a short survey or something to find out what impact it's had on them?
Yeah, that's a good idea. And it's actually occurred to me, if I'm going to have another 45, 50 students in next month, then one of the first things we'll do is we'll watch through them and yeah, I'll try and put together a survey that might capture some of their responses to them and therefore inform how we go about making the next round of videos.
Yeah, that'd be so interesting. And when is your paper going to come out? Can we read it?
At the moment, it's 10,000 words long, so I'm trying to cut it down a little bit and tighten it. Yeah, I also wondered, Miranda, I frequently read your dev policy papers, and they obviously go to, what do you call it in Australia? DFAT and those sorts of people who are writing policy and thinking about the implementation of aid. Do you think that this would be a worthy
Yes.
subject for me to shrink down to a 2-page
Yes.
what do you think?
Absolutely. Yes. With
Okay.
links. That'd be great.
I might come to you for a bit of guidance about how to go about and make an approach on that.
Yes. Please do.
And one final question about the paper. I publish mostly an ethnographic film, the sort of the leading journal in my particular area, and I'm not sure that if I want this, the narrative of what we've been doing here to reach people. If you have any suggestions about where I should publish, that would be useful too.
Okay, let's all put on our collective thinking hats about that and get back to you. Certainly we would put it on the INAWARA website. Okay, well we might leave it there unless there's no other questions. I'll stop the recording. Thank you.